The night was chaos incarnate. Gunshots cracked through the air like splintering bones. Smoke poured from the crumbling edges of the safe house as flames licked the midnight sky. Jungkook's heart pounded, though he didn't let it show, not when two masked men shoved him down the staircase and dragged him across the gravel, blood dripping from the corner of his mouth. He was gagged, but not unconscious. That was his mistake. Consciousness meant he had to watch, had to feel, as his pride was stripped layer by layer. The SUV doors slammed open. Jungkook's boot scraped the edge of the seat as he was tossed inside like cargo. His wrists, bound tightly behind him, ached with every jolt the car made. Then he saw him. Through the haze, a tall figure approached the open door. His gloves were soaked in soot, mask hanging from one ear. Raven black hair tousled from the firelight behind him. A slow, menacing smirk curved his lips as their eyes met, sharp and golden, the way a wolf watches a cornered deer. Kim Taehyung. The infamous mafia lord stepped into the SUV without a word, leaned down, and yanked the gag down from Jungkook's mouth. Jungkook coughed, blood staining his teeth. You think kidnapping me will fix whatever inferiority complex you've got? Taehyung's smirk didn't falter. Didn't expect manners. But damn, you're prettier up close. Jungkook's glare hardened. I'm not afraid of you, Kim Taehyung. Try again. Instead of reacting with rage like most would, Taehyung chuckled lowly and leaned closer until their noses almost brushed. You will be. The SUV doors slammed shut. The Kim mansion wasn't a prison, but Jungkook wasn't free either. When he opened his eyes again, it was to silk sheets, velvet drapes, and a golden chandelier swaying softly above. His wrists were no longer tied, but a cuff anchored his ankle to the frame of the bed. Lavish, luxurious, a prison dressed like a palace. The door creaked open. Jungkook sat up, instantly alert as Taehyung stepped inside, wearing a dark turtleneck and an expression that was far too calm. No screams for help? Taehyung asked, approaching like a cat circling its prey. Jungkook didn't flinch. What's the point? Your men are dogs. They'll bark when told and bite if I breathe wrong. Taehyung tilted his head. You've done your homework. Shame you didn't do yours. My father doesn't negotiate with psychopaths. Taehyung pulled a chair closer to the bed and sat down, crossing one leg over the other. This isn't about your father. It's about you. Jungkook blinked. What? I expected a spoiled brat, a coward. Instead, I find you burning brighter than the house I just torched. You didn't even cry. I don't cry for men like you. That made something flicker in Taehyung's eyes, something wild and gleaming. Good, he said quietly. I like when they fight back. The hours dragged, but Jungkook refused to show weakness. Even when hunger gnawed at his stomach. Even when the cuff cut into his ankle. Taehyung visited again the next evening, offering him a tray of food like it was a peace offering. I'm not your guest, Jungkook snapped. No, Taehyung murmured, voice like velvet over steel. But you're not a prisoner either. You chained me to a bed. You're breathing, aren't you? Jungkook lunged, but the chain yanked him back with a harsh clink. His chest heaved, fury written in every tight muscle. Taehyung just watched him, studied him. No one had ever stared at Jungkook like that. Not with disgust, but with fascination. and that terrified Jungkook more than anything. Later that night, Taehyung returned, standing in the doorway without a word, just watching. Jungkook pretended to sleep, jaw clenched, but he felt the weight of that stare across the room. "You didn't sleep," Taehyung finally said. Jungkook opened his eyes. "Should I have? I burned down your world, and you still glare like a prince on a throne. Because I'd rather die than bow to a coward with a crown made of ashes." A pause, then laughter, low, real, and almost surprised. "You're dangerous," Taehyung whispered, stepping forward until he stood at the edge of the bed. "I can't decide whether to break you or keep you." Jungkook's lips curled. "Then I hope you choose fast. Because if you don't kill me, I'll make you wish you had." Taehyung's expression changed. Just slightly. Just enough. Something shifted. He leaned in, inches from Jungkook's face, voice barely a breath. "I think I stole more than a hostage tonight." And before Jungkook could ask what that meant, the door closed again softly, like a secret being kept. The hunger war was silent. Jungkook had refused everything: water, food, even the slightest glance at the untouched tray that came every morning. His defiance was calculated, cold, and constant. Until the fourth day. Until the dizziness blurred the room's edges and his knees gave out on the walk from the bathroom to the bed. The cuff yanked his ankle mid-fall, and his body hit the ground with a dull thud. The door burst open faster than he could blink. Then warmth. Strong arms slid beneath his shoulders and knees. The scent of sandalwood wrapped around him. Taehyung didn't speak. He just carried him back to the bed, gently, absurdly gently, and laid him down like Jungkook was made of porcelain and not venom. "Don't touch me," Jungkook rasped. "You collapsed. Let me die then." Taehyung didn't answer. He turned away, returned with a small bowl of warm soup and a spoon, sat at the edge of the bed and blew softly on each scoop before offering. Jungkook clenched his jaw. "You think this is mercy?" "No," Taehyung said. "This is stubbornness. Mine." He dipped the spoon again and offered it. Jungkook didn't move. The silence between them was thick with tension, unspoken meanings, and the strange hum of something that was not quite hate. Taehyung sighed. "Open your mouth." Jungkook stared. Then, just to spite him, he opened it and spit the soup back at him, directly onto his shirt. The liquid dripped down Taehyung's collarbone. A moment passed. Jungkook smirked. "Next time, just kill me." Taehyung didn't yell, didn't shove him. He simply looked down at the mess, then back at Jungkook and smiled. "That would be a waste," he said softly, "of a perfectly sculpted mouth." That night, the storm arrived. Rain lashed against the windows. The power grid flickered, then went dark entirely. Even the emergency generators failed. Jungkook wandered through the dim hallways barefoot, searching for a towel, a flashlight, something. The candle in his hand trembled with every step. A wrong turn brought him to a grand double door, ajar, just barely. Inside was warmth, firelight, and the one man he least wanted to see. Taehyung sat at the edge of a massive armchair near the hearth, shirt half unbuttoned, nursing a glass of something amber. Their eyes met. Jungkook took a step back. "You're not lost," Taehyung said without moving. "You just don't want to ask for help." Jungkook's lips curled. "You're very fond of hearing yourself talk." Taehyung pointed to the towel hanging near the fireplace. "Take it. Stay. Or go. I don't care." But he did. Jungkook saw it in the way his hand tightened around the glass. In the second chair pulled out beside him untouched. Hesitating only a moment, Jungkook entered the room. He wrapped the towel around his shoulders and stood near the fire, refusing to sit. Neither spoke for a long while. The storm was loud enough to speak for them. Then, softly, Jungkook asked, "Why this room?" Taehyung looked up. "It used to be my mother's." Jungkook turned. "She liked the sound of rain," Taehyung continued, voice quieter. "Said it made her feel less lonely, even when the world was falling apart." There was something in his tone fragile, like glass with a crack that hadn't yet shattered. Jungkook didn't know why he asked the next thing. Maybe it was the storm. Maybe it was the way Taehyung looked less like a mafia lord and more like a boy left behind. "She's gone." Taehyung nodded. "Died when I was 17. Your side planted the bomb." Jungkook flinched. "I didn't know." Taehyung turned his face away. "No one ever does." The fire popped. Jungkook slowly sat down. Then, softly, as if sharing a secret, "Mine died giving birth to me." Taehyung looked over. "I was always told I owed the world something because of it. That I had to survive enough for the both of us." For the first time since his capture, Jungkook saw Taehyung's shoulders lower. Just slightly. "You play piano," Taehyung said. Jungkook blinked. "How do you?" "I've heard you perform at public galas. Back when we pretended we were all civilized." A pause. "You were good." Jungkook swallowed. "You remembered. I don't forget things that make me feel." The rain kept falling. Jungkook pulled the towel tighter. His wrist stung from the chain marks earlier that week. Without asking, Taehyung reached forward and gently took his hand, fingers brushing over the raw skin. "You'll hate me for what I've done," he murmured. "But I still want to see you smile." Jungkook didn't pull away. He just whispered, "Then stop giving me reasons to hate you." And for the first time, Taehyung looked like he might try. The sirens were distant, but the gunshots were not. Jungkook's breath heaved in ragged bursts as he sprinted through the underground tunnel, bare feet pounding over cold concrete. Sweat beaded along his temple, heart a furious drumbeat in his chest. He didn't care that he was lost beneath the estate, didn't care that the map he'd stolen from the guardroom was smeared with blood and half-burned at the edge. He just had to run. The faint, flickering lights overhead buzzed and then went out completely. Then, the deafening crack of gunfire. Bullets ricocheted off stone. Jungkook screamed as one whizzed past his ear, barely missing his shoulder. Suddenly, an arm yanked him back, spinning him into a side corridor. His body collided with a chest he recognized by instinct. "Taehyung, are you insane?" Taehyung shouted, voice raw and wild. "Do you have a death wish? Let me go." Jungkook struggled, fists pounding against Taehyung's chest. "You can't keep me caged forever." Another shot rang out. Before he could react, Taehyung shoved him to the ground and threw himself on top, shielding him with his body. A sharp grunt escaped his lips. Blood sprayed. But it wasn't Jungkook's. Taehyung winced as a bullet grazed his arm, tearing through his sleeve and skin. He rolled them both into a deeper chamber, gun drawn in a flash as he fired twice. Then silence. Only the wheezing of two men tangled on the cold floor, hearts rattling against ribs. Jungkook stared at the blood dripping from Taehyung's elbow. "You're hurt." Taehyung didn't answer. He stood, breathing hard, and slammed the heavy steel door shut behind them. They were in a safe zone now, reinforced walls, soundproofed, one of the backup bunkers used during high-threat raids. It was dark and hot and too close. The lights flickered back on, low and humming. Jungkook rose shakily. "You didn't have to protect me." "Apparently I did," Taehyung snapped, blood-slicked gun still in his hand. "Because you were too busy being reckless. I was trying to escape." "I know." Taehyung's voice cracked. And then he moved. Faster than thought. He pressed Jungkook back against the wall, not with force, but urgency. His eyes burned not with hate, but with something desperate. His hand thudded beside Jungkook's head, the other still clutching the smoking gun at his side. "Don't ever do that again." Jungkook's chest rose sharply. "You don't own me." Taehyung stared at him, long, hard. Something shifted in his eyes. Then, softly, hoarsely, "But I want to." He let the gun fall to the ground with a heavy clatter. And then he kissed him. There was nothing gentle about it. It was war, teeth, breath, blood, and want. Taehyung's mouth crashed into Jungkook's like a man starved of sanity, lips smeared with the copper tang of injury and adrenaline. One hand gripped the side of Jungkook's neck while the other fisted the back of his shirt, pulling him closer, deeper. Jungkook gasped against the assault, but didn't pull away. He melted, hips arching forward, body trembling not in fear, but in a strange, sick thrill. His hands, once clenched in resistance, now gripped Taehyung's coat. The bunker walls trembled with the storm outside, but here, inside, something far more dangerous raged. The kiss broke only when oxygen demanded it. Taehyung didn't move far. He rested his forehead against Jungkook's, chest heaving, blood trailing down his wrist. Jungkook blinked, lips raw, cheeks flushed. "You kissed me." "You kissed back," Taehyung murmured. "I shouldn't have. I know." A pause. Heavy. But neither stepped away. Taehyung lifted his thumb, brushing away a smear of blood on Jungkook's cheek. His voice lowered, husky and broken. "You're not a hostage anymore." Jungkook looked up, eyes wide and uncertain. "Then what am I?" Taehyung's gaze dropped to his lips, then his neck, then back up. "Something I can't let go of." Another heartbeat passed. Then Jungkook whispered, almost too soft to hear, "Don't." Taehyung stilled. "Don't what?" "Don't let go." And though neither said love, it hung there, unspoken, bitter, and undeniable. They weren't enemies anymore. They were something far worse. Weeks passed, and the chain around Jungkook's ankle was gone. Not replaced with keys or freedom, but something quieter, an unspoken thread that tugged each time he walked by Taehyung's office, a pulse that fluttered when their eyes met across the dining table. He now roamed the mansion freely, barefoot and armed only with sarcastic remarks. The guards stopped watching him with suspicion and started giving small nods of acknowledgement, though never too openly. They'd seen the way Taehyung looked at him. They shared meals now. Arguments, too, like lovers who hadn't learned how to love gently yet. "You need to stop leaving your guns on the kitchen counter," Jungkook muttered one morning over toast. Taehyung raised a brow. "You planning to shoot me? Depends on how long you keep cooking eggs like this." Taehyung rolled his eyes, but smiled soft, reluctant. "I hate how much I like your mouth." Jungkook blinked. "You're supposed to hate me, remember? I'm trying. You make it difficult." The world outside hadn't forgotten. The rival syndicates saw Jungkook's continued presence as betrayal. Weakness. One evening, Taehyung stood in the war room, flanked by his closest men, the tension thick as gun oil. A demand had arrived: surrender Jungkook or face war. His second-in-command growled, "They'll burn us if we don't hand him over." "Then let them try," Taehyung said calmly. "You'd risk all of this for one heir?" "I'd risk it for him." And just like that, the room turned. Loyalty twisted into doubt. Guns weren't aimed at outsiders anymore. They hovered dangerously close to the center. To him. Taehyung came to Jungkook's room that night with a duffel bag and a lie on his lips. "I'm sending you away." Jungkook looked up, still half asleep, hair messy and voice thick. "What?" "There's a boat waiting at the dock. You'll be safe." Jungkook sat up, frowning. "No, it's not a request." "You said I wasn't a hostage anymore," he snapped. "And you're not. That's why I'm letting you go." Jungkook stood, fury rising in his chest. "You're not doing this for me. You're doing this because you're scared of losing everything. I'm doing this because you're the only thing I can't afford to lose," Taehyung bit out. And then he left. Without a kiss. Without a goodbye. Just the echo of slammed doors and the sick ache of what felt like goodbye. He didn't expect Jungkook to come back. Especially not during the confrontation. Especially not with a gun in his hand. But there he was barreling into the war room like a bullet of his own, hair wind-whipped, chest heaving. "I'm not leaving," Jungkook barked. "And anyone who wants me dead better be a good **king shot." One of Taehyung's own men stepped forward, pistol drawn. Jungkook didn't hesitate. Bang! The man dropped. Silence thundered. Taehyung stared. "You," he choked, stepping forward. "You came back." Jungkook's hands shook. "You kidnapped me," he whispered. "You threw my life into flames. But somewhere in this hell, you also loved me right." Taehyung swallowed hard, eyes locked on the blood-stained floor. "I don't know how to love, Jungkook." "You don't have to know." Jungkook stepped closer until their chests nearly touched. "Just choose to learn. With me." A long, agonizing beat passed. Then Taehyung reached up, fingers trembling for the first time in years, and cupped Jungkook's face like he was afraid he'd disappear. And kissed him. This time, there was no BL00D. Just soft lips and shaky breaths. Taehyung's hands at Jungkook's waist. Jungkook's fingers tangling in his coat. Their bodies finding a rhythm that spoke without threats or pain. They kissed like they could rebuild from ash. And maybe they could. Later, in the quiet of the study, Jungkook leaned against Taehyung's chest, listening to the slow thud of his heartbeat. The fire crackled beside them. "You really were ready to lose everything," Jungkook whispered. "I was already losing it the day you looked me in the eye and refused to beg." Jungkook tilted his head up. "You stole me," he said, voice trembling. "So keep me. Just don't let go." Taehyung's eyes softened. "I never planned to." And for the first time in both their lives, nothing burned. Just the soft glow of something finally real.